Child stars dealing with abuse, cracking under the pressure of fame, and throwing their lives away as a result is nothing new. We've seen it with Lindsay Lohan, Miley Cyrus, Macaulay Culkin, Shia LaBeouf, and many more. Whether it's abuse or simply the expectations being too high, it's evident that this lifestyle is not something everyone can cope with. The man I'm talking about is named Orlando Brown. He went from being paid millions of dollars to do something he loved to wandering the streets of LA barefoot and homeless. This is his story. Orlando Brown was a star on one of America's biggest TV shows, That's So Raven. He was born December 4th, 1987 in Los Angeles, California. At one point, it's estimated that he was making $20,000 per episode while filming That's So Raven.
First you tell me Andrea's gonna kiss me, then you make me your boyfriend so I can't kiss her. Man, this is one big psychic ripoff.
But as of today, several sources online claim he's blown through everything. Orlando first rose to fame back in 1995 at 8 years old in the movie Major Payne. If you're a younger viewer, you may not have heard of this movie, but just to provide some scale as to the movie's success, it did $30 million at the box office, which is around $60.2 million in today's dollars. His first major TV role was as 3J on the show Family Matters, which was a popular sitcom show around the late 80s to early 2000s. He wasn't really a main character in this show, but he did appear for a few seasons.
Hey, handsome. How was your cake?
I'm not sure. I need another piece before I can really give you an honest answer.
Cute 3J. But I think you've had enough.
His first breakthrough role came as Eddie in 2003 on the Disney Channel show That's So Raven. Orlando finally had his first main character, and he would appear in 99 out of 100 episodes in the That's So Raven series. I doubt he was getting paid $20,000 per episode from the very beginning, but I think that a fair range of his total earnings from the show would be between $999,000 to $1.8 million, before taxes and not including any royalties for reruns, if there were any. The show would air from 2003 to 2007 with 4 seasons total, which meant Orlando was around 20 years old when the show was done filming. Even if his pay was closer to the low end of my estimation, that amount of money is a lot for a 20-year-old kid to have access to, especially when you're a famous actor. Throughout the entire show of That's So Raven, Orlando was a likable guy. He wasn't into much drama, the cast seemed to get along with him, and overall he just kept a low profile outside of the show.
It's history in the making, y'all. Yeah. Follow me, look. Believe me, you ain't never heard a young man that can blaze the track. Ridiculous cat that can dribble behind his back.
Honestly, I think he could have gone really far in the industry had his name not been so badly tarnished after That's So Raven finished. His reputation very quickly started taking damage as soon as the show was done filming, which, as I said earlier, up until the end of the show was very good. The only sort of controversy I can find involving Orlando while the show was still filming happened on April 10th, 2007, a few months before the final episode of That's So Raven. He was arrested on marijuana possession, which is stupid to me, but he was in Texas, so obviously they weren't going to be soft on him. In questioning, Orlando claimed that the weed wasn't his. It belonged to a rapper friend of his that he was driving around with earlier that day. He also claimed that he would never do such a thing because, quote, "That's not what I do. I consider myself a youth activist," end quote. I really doubt any of what he told the police is true, but I would have done the exact same thing if I was in his position. As far as actual sentences go, I couldn't find anything specific online or on the government court websites, but most news outlets reported he did have to serve some jail time, which makes sense because back in 2007, the weed laws in Texas were even more strict than they are today. Just a few years later in 2011, Orlando Brown was arrested on DUI charges while driving around Hollywood with his girlfriend, who was pregnant at the time.
Don't want to act like I'm a hostile and abusive, right? When you're stealing your everybody in my family, and you want to act like I don't give a about it, bro. You evil as
Orlando was booked at the Hollywood police station and was able to leave custody the following morning after posting his $15,000 bail. Luckily enough, he was able to reach a plea deal with the prosecutors and was simply ordered to complete an alcohol education program. In exchange, he would avoid all jail time. Despite the plea deal leaning in his favor, Orlando decided not to join the alcohol program and that he didn't feel like paying the $1,908 he owed in fines and court fees. In response to the breach of the plea agreement, a warrant was issued for his arrest. After being arrested for the second second time relating to the 2011 DUI, the courts decided to once again be lenient with his sentencing and allowed him more time to join the alcohol education program. A normal human being would have joined the program immediately after being told they would give you a second chance, but Orlando isn't normal by any standards. Just 2 months after being given a second chance, Orlando was due in court to prove that he had finally joined the program, but once again he didn't show. So another warrant was issued for his arrest. He ended up being arrested again and this time was actually sentenced, but it didn't happen until August of 2013, exactly 2 years after he was arrested on the DUI charge. He was originally sentenced to serve 180 days in jail but was released in September of the same year due to overcrowding in the jails. The next time Orlando came in contact with the police happened in 2014 and was a lot darker than the other arrests he's dealt with. Reportedly, Orlando showed up outside a woman's house that he knew. He was blackout drunk, being extremely loud, and making death threats to the woman and her family. The woman involved claims that Orlando had flirted with her a few days before, and she ended up turning him down, which is most likely why he showed up at her apartment talking crazy. TMZ was able to get a recording of the audio, which I'm gonna play now so you can hear it for yourself.
I'm still screaming, bitch! I'm still hollering, ho! I'm still hollering, bitch!
Where they're coming from because, they're patrolling the entire workload committee.
I understand that, but I've seen them respond to stuff where a homeless person is outside drinking a beer quicker than they're following.
I kill you, your mama, your daughter, and everybody.
Ma'am, he just said he's gonna kill my 3-year-old daughter. Can you get here?
Despite the clear claims that he would cause this woman harm, he was only being charged with public intoxication and disturbing the peace. Reportedly, he was able to get a plea deal yet again and only had to pay a fine for this incident. His lucky streak was coming to an end, however, or so I thought, because in January of 2016, he was arrested once again, but this time on suspicion of battery, drug possession with intent to sell, possession of contraband in jail, and obstruction of justice. This arrest came after a call was made to local police that Orlando had allegedly been hitting his girlfriend at the time. Besides the fact that hitting someone you claim to love is wrong, Orlando decided to do this in possibly the worst area of all time, a police station parking lot. The police didn't even need to get in their cars to get this man. He was already right outside the front door. Orlando was quickly brought into the police station and booked, and once he was being searched inside the station, police found meth on him. So that's where the drug possession charges came from. He ended up sitting in jail for a few weeks but was bailed out for $30,000 on February 12th. Following his release, he made tons of posts on Instagram ranting about the situation. Sadly, those posts have been deleted as of today, but his rants ranged from being very confident the charges would get dropped and claiming his innocence to telling fans to pray for him because he was about to go to court. It's unclear if Orlando decided to once again skip his court dates after being bailed out back in 2016, or if there was simply an error with the court systems. But almost 2 years later, in January of 2018, he was arrested once again on suspicion of domestic battery. AB7 claims that officers were called to a residence in Barstow and arrived to see an argument between Orlando, his girlfriend, and his girlfriend's mother. Upon detaining them, the police noticed that Orlando had warrants out for his arrest stemming from the battery incident back in 2016, so he was taken into Barstow jail on those warrants. Again, I'm not totally sure if Orlando just skipped his court dates back in 2016 or if there was an error on the police department's end. Either way, neither reason would surprise me. Once again, he was offered bail and told to appear in court in a few months. This should come as a surprise to no one, but Orlando once again would skip bail and his court date. I genuinely have no clue why they keep giving this man bail. He's a clear flight risk. But this time the county handled his skipping court a bit differently. Instead of sending regular cops after him, they sent bounty hunters, and it was all caught on camera. I'll play part of the clip where he's arrested for you, but if you want to see the full clip, just search Orlando Brown bounty hunters and you'll find it. Anyway, here's a sneak peek of how this arrest went.
Give me my phone.
He's up there.
Okay. We're going up. Get off, mama. Get off. You can go to jail.
Orlando, come out with your hands up!
Fuck that person. I don't even know if that motherfucker, did he leave with Kate on?
Don't you kick my door.
Open it.
Hey!
Open the fucking door. Watch out, watch out. Watch out! Motherfucker, show me your fucking hands! Show me your fucking hands now! Get out!
Get out!
Get out! Down now! Down now! Down now! Show me your fucking hands! Put them behind your back now! You got a warrant for your arrest! Show me your hands! Show me your hands!
sir.
What's your name?
Sir, what's the problem?
What's your name? What is your name? State your name. State your name.
As you can see, he was hiding in a closet in his boxers, so really not a great look for our boy Orlando. After 2018, Orlando was able to keep out of legal trouble for a few years. Originally, I thought he just calmed down a bit, but after further research, it seems that he had actually started going to rehab shortly after the bounty hunters caught him with his pants down. Despite his efforts to get clean, Orlando actually gave up on rehab towards the end of 2018. He wasn't in trouble with the law, but he was visibly not well and started to go viral on social media for all the wrong reasons. In October of 2018, Orlando was filmed walking around the streets with no shoes on, raggedy clothing, and some boxed wine.
Look, my shit right over there. I called the
Look at this circus clown.
It's whole blood.
Go ahead. Work for them on the corner.
Sock me out. Sock this
Look at this nigga dirty
out.
ass feet.
Yep.
This
Sock me
bum
out.
ass nigga. Try to get this nigga some love. He wants shit on you.
Yep.
Now I know why he ain't got no family.
What?
Get the fuck away from here, nigga.
I got gun.
You better get away from my house or you get knocked the fuck out.
Knocked out for calling on.
You could tell he was f***ed up in the head from the way he was talking in the video. Even just the look on his eyes screamed help me. This period of having no run-ins with the police didn't last very long though. In December of 2022, he was once again arrested on domestic violence charges. According to TMZ, Orlando was staying with a friend of his named Matthew because Orlando was homeless at the time. Everything was cool at first, but then out of nowhere, Orlando allegedly started accusing his friend of sexually abusing his wife. And shortly after he made these accusations, he tried to attack his friend using a broken off knife blade and a hammer. Matthew told police that Orlando was not able to actually hit him and did eventually put the weapons down.
I don't want to go there else, but he just had a knife and a hammer.
Okay, what do you do towards you? I mean, how
he came in aggressive mode and was like, hey, no, I'm about to...
And he was coming towards you?
He was thrusting it, forward thrust and all of that.
Okay.
On December 22nd, police in Lima, Ohio responded to an incident involving Brown and Matthew Sanders, who Brown referred to as his brother.
Initially, he was being charged with misdemeanor domestic violence, but the charges were dropped down to aggravated menacing, which carries a maximum sentence of 180 days in jail and or a fine of up to $1,000. He was arrested and sent to Allen County Jail in Ohio because this crime actually happened in Lima, Ohio, not LA, like the rest of his alleged crimes. Once again, they gave this man a bond. Apparently, it was set at $25,000, and if the bail is paid, one of the conditions is he would be placed on a house arrest and provided an ankle monitor. At least this time, they have some preventative measure in place, but me personally, I am dumbfounded that he's still getting bail after his history of skipping court. This time around, Orlando was a good boy and showed up in court. In return, the judge sentenced him to 60 days in jail with 42 days as credited time, because he failed to pay his bail, so he had been sitting in jail since December. And then he even suspended the remaining 18 days on the condition that Orlando stayed out of trouble. So basically, he once again got off with little to no jail time. Somehow, some way, Orlando managed to keep himself out of the headlines for almost 2 years after the menacing charges. Actually, since that day back in 2022, Orlando Brown has not made headlines with another legal problem yet, but he did get kicked out of a restaurant in January of this year for harassing staff. In this video obtained by TMZ, you can hear Orlando call an employee a child molester and refer to him as Richard Ramirez, who was an infamous serial killer if you didn't know. He also claimed that he was Jesus, and then as he was being booted, he basically said the exact opposite when he claimed that he's the son of Lucifer and Satan. I'll let you enjoy that clip now.
You gotta go, Satan.
So don't do that.
Yeah, doing your job by making your fucking custom comfortable. Satan, child molester, fucking demon. You fucking demon! You fucking demon! Child molester! Richard Ramirez! Fuck is he talking about? This is Richard Ramirez, ladies and gentlemen, and they allow him to work here! Bitch, you ain't gonna have no job, Satan! Get behind me, Satan! I'm Jesus! Get the fuck out of here, Satan!
So even though he's managed to stay out of legal trouble as of late, it would appear he's still not doing great mentally. Or maybe it was just an off night, who knows. Now, after hearing all that, you may be wondering, what on earth could have made him go off the deep end like he did? And that's a valid question. So let's figure out what really went wrong behind the scenes. One of the first major social media interviews Orlando Brown did was on Vlad TV back in March of 2016. As of today, the video has over 1.8 million views, and Orlando dropped a lot of information about his life in it. He also had some weird tendencies while speaking though. I'm not sure if that's just how he is as a person or if it was the drugs, but in my head I think it was most likely the drugs. During this interview, Orlando claimed a lot of things, but one that stuck out to me was that he and Raven actually dated for a little bit. I'm not sure if this is true, as I know Raven has denied a lot of the allegations Orlando has thrown out there, but if they did date, then maybe there is some validity to the wild claims he makes in later interviews. Again in 2016, roughly 9 months after his first Vlad interview, Orlando appeared on Vlad TV again. This interview was more crazy than the first for sure. He made some wild claims about Raven and his relationship, but before he talked about Raven, he was speaking about the contracts that Disney had them signing, and it completely aligned with Disney's current reputation. Orlando claimed that in all their contracts, there was a stipulation that even controlled their lives when they were offset and in their personal lives. He basically said that there were clauses which stated if you got into trouble or controversy in your personal life, you would be booted off Disney Channel, which unfortunately isn't surprising one bit. We all know how gross these companies treat child stars. He went on to explain to Vlad the sexual nature of his relationship with Raven, and it was just a roller coaster to watch. Here's the clip.
I mean, I told you in the first interview, I mean, she gave me, and then I gave her some, yeah.
And then he went as far as describing a part of Raven's body. Roll the clip.
Looking at her breasts?
Yeah, the areola.
Areola.
The areola.
Right. Well,
What's wrong?
You said that she had clear areola?
I didn't say she had, I said it was the whole titty was one color.
The whole titty?
The whole titty.
But usually the areola is a different color.
Well, nigga, that was, let me tell you something, look, let me tell you something, brother.
So as you just heard, he basically implied that he and Raven had some good old-fashioned fun when they were together on That's So Raven. Now, we of course cannot verify that, and we have to acknowledge that he was on drugs at the time, so it could all be lies. But if it is true, that is just so funny. He did get a little bit weird at one point. He started talking about how young they were when all this happened, talking about how stuff wasn't fully formed and it was, quote, supple. It just gave me a weird vibe. So now I'm gonna give you that weird vibe too. Here's the clip.
She got turned like 20 or something. So right now I was 14, and it was everything was supple. You know, I told you about the peaches and cream.
Sorry to do that to you, but I didn't think it was fair for just me to have to suffer through that. Something I have to mention is that if you watch the full interview, you'll see that once again he's got these spazzy mannerisms that seem to me like drug addict tendencies, similar to how BossmanJack acts. Which, by the way, if you haven't watched that video yet on my channel, definitely check it out. I'll have a link in the description below. After changing topics from his alleged ex, Orlando started talking about a beef he had with another child star, Marcus Polk. After yapping about stuff that isn't important, he claimed that he actually put a bounty on Marcus's head, saying that he had people trying to kidnap him. That sentence to me almost solidifies with absolute certainty that Orlando was still on drugs at this time. No sober human says that. You might think he's joking. So here, listen to how serious he sounds for yourself.
I sent for his ass. And he know it. I sent for him.
You sent for him?
Oh, you motherfucking right, I sent for him.
So you sent some people to go get him?
Basically to kidnap his ass.
Okay.
On top of these schizophrenic-esque rants, Orlando was also dropping a lot of music, where he said even crazier shit. I don't really want to listen to that, and honestly, I don't think it has any value to include, so I'm not even going to cover it. If you want to hear his stuff, I'll link his SoundCloud and Spotify in the description. Another big interview for Orlando took place shortly before his second Vlad TV interview, on December 8th of 2016, and was aired on the All Deaf YouTube channel. As of today, that video has around 1 million views, and throughout the 55-minute interview, Orlando was being as flamboyant as ever. Not only did he have the same jerky mannerisms, but he once again would go on weird rants whenever a question was asked. And by the time he finally took a breath, I would find myself wondering what question they even asked him, which again could be more evidence of drug use. Rambling on about random topics like that is a very common thing to do when you're using stimulants. He told the host that he actually used to sell meth and cocaine too, which I think is just pure coping, to avoid telling people he used drugs a lot. He also went at Vlad TV and claimed that Vlad owed him money, going on to say that Vlad was, quote, exploiting young black men, end quote. quote. I'm not sure at all what their deal was or if Vlad actually did owe Orlando money, but I thought it was important to include because not only did once again showcase the unhinged side of Orlando, but it seems that this little public call out actually worked for Orlando, since his second Vlad interview happened on December 23rd, less than a month after he called them out. Perhaps the most notable interview for Orlando, and one of the most insightful for viewers, took place in December of 2018, when he made an appearance on the Dr. Phil show. The guy that set the episode up was Orlando's friend and manager at the time. He claimed that Orlando had alcohol and drug problems and had been cut off from the majority of his family and friends because of it. This interview was definitely the worst out of all of his major public speaking appearances. The off-topic rambling was at a whole new level, and he confirmed for the show that he did have alcohol and drug issues. He also lied about having 4 kids, some of which he claimed not to know their names.
Yeah, it's like, I want my kids to be with me at Neverland. I just don't want to.
And how old are your kids?
I got a 2-year-old, 2-year-old, 5-year-old. I think he's 8 and 11.
All right. Now, and what's the 2-year-old's name?
2-year-old, still in the belly. Still in the belly. We don't know yet.
Okay. And what's the 5-year-old's name?
That's Mason.
And the 11-year-old?
Charlotte.
And on top of that, he said he was the son of Michael Jackson. If you watch the full interview, you'll see for yourself how diluted the things he's saying are. You'll also hear that Dr. Phil brings up a great point about how all this drama in his life could potentially be the cause for the Orlando Brown we know today. The main point of this interview was to try and get Orlando into rehab. It was basically an intervention with Dr. Phil. And surprisingly, Dr. Phil said that Orlando agreed to go to rehab after the interview was done. The point of talking about all these public interviews to show you how incoherent Orlando is when having conversations with these people. It's very obvious that he was either still battling addiction issues during these years or suffering from neurological damage due to the drug use he was subjected to. If you can get past all the wild claims about celebrity relatives and the random ranting, sometimes he says something that actually doesn't sound too crazy. Like when he talks about how scummy these kids' networks operated, or even some things he said about co-stars. Overall, I think during these years, Orlando's life was ruled by drugs completely, and we can probably blame that on the fame he experienced from such a young age. When you look at most of the really famous child stars, a large percentage of them have become drug addicts, are overtly sexual once they become older, or just cannot stop getting into controversy. In no way is Orlando Brown a unique case. Nowadays, Orlando Brown has actually appeared on a few different podcasts over the last year or so. In the recent interviews I watched, Orlando looked much healthier than he did in old interviews. And honestly, his rants seemed much more coherent than they did back in 2016 to 2018. He did still go on rants, but he would stay on the same topic for much longer, and the sentences made more sense. But there were still moments where he seemed to just lose it for a second.
And the rest of these man, these be chucking, man, they chucking up in these 14-year-old girls, man. And you got the Muslim community being the number one race to do this shit, man. They doing this shit, man. And now the Christians is thinking it's cool to do this shit.
You making up
Not no, man, now these motherfuckers.
He spoke several times on the quote hazing that actors have to go through, and referred to the Diddy situation to explain that all actors go through hazing, which means getting raped to get to the very top. He says that he went through it and all the big stars today have. I want to doubt that all of them have gone through this shit, but it's possible, I guess.
This whole Will Smith shit. You feel me? Hey man, that nigga Michael Jackson, bro. You feel me? That nigga Michael Jackson, bro. That nigga set me up, bro. On everything I love, that nigga set me up, bro. You feel me? That nigga's tripping, bro. That nigga be on some other shit, my nigga. Like straight the fuck. What are you talking about, my nigga? You raped me as a kid, you bitch ass nigga. You raped me as a kid and you all my kids, nigga. And you still trying to get away with the shit. What do you mean? I'm sitting right here. Every time I see you, I want to slice your neck. You really have to understand what the Bible says, bro. The Bible says, it says, honor your mother and your father for your days are long. I ain't killed you for that reason, bitch.
And a lot of people have said the same thing throughout history. His most recent viral interview was on the Danza Project podcast, and Charleston White was on the show with Orlando. The two had been fairly nice throughout the beginning of the interview, but Orlando did cause some awkward moments.
Include Nas.
I got you. We ain't even started yet. We ain't even get started yet.
Include Nas.
Yeah, let's get it.
Include Nas or something, man. Like, include my brothers, man.
Let's get it.
Come on, man.
About 20 minutes in, Charleston and Orlando are talking about why you should beat your girlfriend, and when all of a sudden Orlando starts calling Charleston his daddy, and that didn't go over well as he ended up walking off the show. Take a look.
In the movie together.
Come on, y'all heard it.
Put me in the movie together.
You heard it.
Yeah, nah, homie. They don't have no use for the child.
We want the show, Daddy-O. We want the show. We want the show.
We gonna get it, homie.
And we want
I'm
the
speaking.
No. Hold on. The movie is one why. We want the show. We want to make sure that we do, opportunities for everybody else that's coming down.
Then you give me the game. I'm gonna take it and run with it.
Yeah, we need the next sitcom.
Get that pilot done.
Come on. So now,
now if you hate a mother
in the hotel,
if you hate a mother, you gonna beat the with everything you got around you.
If you love her, you go beat her. But guess what? When we beat our kids,
Daddy,
what do we tell our kids?
Daddy.
Yo, don't call him daddy. He don't do that. Yeah.
Man, no,
you gotta call him Unc.
I want to talk game, man. I don't want to do this foolishness.
Daddy.
Let's call him Unc. Give him respect to call him Unc. Come on.
Now the nigga gonna beat the. You gonna whoop the.
When Orlando starts to lose me is when he says just plain out delusional things, like his claims that he is Jesus.
Bitch, you ain't gonna have no job, Satan.
Shout out to what's it called?
Get behind me, Satan. I'm Jesus.
You know how.
Get out of here, Satan.
That to me is a huge sign of possible neurological disorder, along with the insane mood swings he had on the Real Life Productions YouTube interview. Look at how fast he goes from crying to laughing.
As Americans, we go to certain countries and we fight and then we rape them and then we stay out there.
Hold on, now let me ask you. Let me
hearing this shit. You niggas.
Let me ask you.
Other than the occasional YouTube interview, there hasn't been much going on business-wise for Orlando Brown that is in the public eye. He hasn't been in any new movies or TV shows, but he has been dropping music on Spotify pretty consistently, although he only has around 5,000 monthly listeners, so it can't be paying him too much. Despite the lack of castings, his personal life seems to be going much better as of late. He just recently welcomed his daughter into the world with his wife, Danielle Brown, and it looks like the two have built a life together. He hasn't been making headlines with arrests like he used to either. The only thing that gets him in the news now is some of the wild things he says on podcasts or interviews, and the occasional satanic freakout in a restaurant.
Okay, let's eat though.
Regardless of the claims that Orlando is still using drugs, I honestly don't think he is. As I mentioned earlier, in his more recent interviews, his face doesn't look like that of a drug addict, and overall he looks way more put together. I think some of what Orlando claims has truth to it, and I think some of it is in no way, shape, or form true. It's almost like he's hiding potential facts behind layers of delusional mumbo jumbo. I doubt we will be seeing Orlando in any major TV roles anytime soon, but I think we can definitely expect to see more podcasts and interviews with him across social media as time goes on. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I love you. Have a good one. Peace.